Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ditmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Trade unions go on strike against unjust tax, bank rates and other social issues. Tensions boil over at the port due to trade union strike. Director General of Trade Unions to the President says the strike is a failure. President's Media Division says banks and fuel service normal, 20 trains in operation. Wanted criminals Harak Kata and Kudu Salindu extradited to Sri Lanka. Government printer sends another letter seeking funds for ballot paper printing. Mavanella Pradeshya Sabha chairman removed.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective had declared a nationwide day of strikes and protests. Their main demand is to amend the unjust tax policy implemented by the government. Government, semi-government and private trade unions are geared up to support the strikes. The Government and Semi-Government Trade Union Collective protested in Borella on Wednesday morning, demanding the government reduce bank interest rates, provide a cost of living allowance of 20,000 rupees, reduce the electricity tariff and suspend slashing salaries and pensions.
You cannot stop us with gazettes. Why don't you issue the gazette to revise the electricity tariff, to provide the 20,000 rupee allowance for the workers, to reduce the tax and to stop slashing the pension? If not, the entire working mass will come together to continue with this strike. Vajira Abewardena wants the trade unions to remain silent for a year. The trade unions will not remain silent for even a day. The people created the trade union movement.
Railway operations were crippled on Wednesday morning due to a strike launched by the Locomotive Operating Engineers Association. Passengers were severely inconvenienced by the strike that was launched in line with the nationwide trade union action initiated by the Professionals Trade Union Collective. The Locomotive Operating Engineers Association of Sri Lanka Railways declared a 24-hour strike that came into effect at midnight on Tuesday, despite authorities cancelling all leave for all railway workers. However, the Sri Lanka Station Masters Union and the Railway Guards Union are not taking part in the strike. The Railways Control Room said that it was compelled to cancel all services on Wednesday morning. Railways General Manager WADS Gunasinghe told Newsfirst that around 20 trains were deployed for service despite the strike in effect. However, that is almost half the number of trains that operate daily in the morning. This was the situation at the Fort, Maradana and Dematagoda train stations in Colombo. Sri Lanka Army personnel were deployed for the protection of trains that were deployed into service and also for the security of railway stations. The Sagarika and Galukumari trains that operate from Beliatta to Maradana did not operate on Wednesday. The Ruhunukumari train was also out of service and the military was assigned to the security of the Mathura railway station. Passengers were severely inconvenienced by the strike as the trains that were scheduled to operate from Galle were delayed by almost 2 hours. Operations along the coastal belt were also hampered, and this was the situation at the Kaluthara railway station. Trains from Kandy to Fort Colombo did not operate. Operations at the Polgahavela, Anuradhapur and other main railway stations were crippled by the strike. The Government Medical Officers Association launched a nationwide one-day strike on Wednesday, and treatment services at almost all state hospitals have been disrupted as other services in the health sector also expressed support to the strike action. The GMOA said if a favourable solution is not provided to their demands within today, an indefinite strike will be launched. Only emergency services were provided at the Colombo National Hospital today. Newsfirst correspondent said clinics, OPD and X-ray services and the issuance of medicine was disrupted today.
Admitting patients to OPD services, checkups, clinical services and routine surgeries have been halted today. However, emergency treatments, life-saving surgeries, kidney patient clinic and dialysis units are operational as emergency services.
dialysis කරන units අපි හදිසි අවශ්‍යතා වශයෙන් සලකා පවත්වාගෙන යනවා.
This is the situation at the Colombo South Teaching Hospital.
ලේ දෙන්න කියලා අද දිනේ දීලා තිබුණා ඒකටයි ආවේ. ස්ට්‍රයික් එක දිගටම ගියොත් ඉතින් ලබන සතිය තමයි එන්න වෙන්නේ ආයේ.
Doctors at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital withdrew from clinical and OPD services, and as other hospital staff also supported the trade union action, daily activities at the hospital were disrupted. Although there was a reduction of the number of patients visiting the hospital, those who arrived to obtain laboratory services had to turn back. This was the situation at the Polonnaruwa General Hospital. Treatment services were not carried out at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital today. People who visited hospitals for treatment and clinics had to turn back due to the ongoing nationwide strike today.
වැඩවර්ජන කාල සීමාව තුළදී අපි හදිසි ප්‍රතිකාර සේවා කිසිසේත් බිඳවැටීමකට ලක් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ හදිසි ප්‍රතිකාර සේවා
During the strike, emergency treatment services will not be disrupted in any manner and will continue. Services at children's hospitals, maternity hospitals, cancer hospitals, kidney treatment units, hospitals of the Triforces and the National Institute of Mental Health in Angoda will not be disrupted either. Apart from these, services at all other hospitals have come to a standstill. This morning we received a series of proposals in writing from the Presidential Secretariat with the signature of the President's Secretary. It has several favourable points. We are holding talks to discuss whether the proposals are believable and at a favourable level. Following that, we are ready to explain to the people our stance regarding the strike action, further action and the fight against taxes.
මේ වැඩවර්ජන ක්‍රියාවලිය එහි ඉදිරිය සහ මේ බදු සටන සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේ රටට මේ ජනතාවට අපි අපේ ස්ථාවරය පැහැදිලි කරන්න සූදානමින් ඉන්නේ.
The teacher and principal unions also went on a one-day strike. Teachers and principals went on strike in support of the action taken by the Professional Trade Union Collective and several other issues. Newsfirst correspondents reported that student turnout across schools in the country was low as a result of the strike. Black flags were raised close to schools in the Galle district in support of the strike, while teachers also refrained from reporting to schools. Newsfirst correspondents said that teachers and students did not report to schools in Kandy. It was observed that parents who were dropping off their children were taking them back home in the morning due to the strike. This was the situation across schools in the Badula district. Newsfirst correspondents said student and teacher turnout was low. Teacher and student turnout at schools in the Madhya district was very low. Schools in the Kurunagala district were also deserted due to the strike. Student turnout across the country was very low as a result of the strike.
The Federation of University Teachers Associations is on strike for the 7th day today. Dhammik S. Priyantha, Joint Chairman of the Federation of University Teachers Associations, said that the university's non-academic employees are also taking part in the strike today. The academic activities of Naval Open University were severely inconvenienced owing to the strike.
අද දවසේ දියත් වෙන මේ සමස්ත මහා වැඩවර
This mass strike launched today is due to the failure of this government. This government does not accept that. If the government does not understand the reality of taking to the streets, this will lead to worse consequences.
එන එකේ පණිවුඩය ආණ්ඩුව තේරුම් ගත්තේ නැත්නම් ආණ්ඩුව ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී ජනතා මතයට කන් දුන්නේ නැත්නම් මේරට විශාල අගාධයකට යනවා මේරට දැවැන්ත කඩා වැටීමකට ලක් වෙනවා අපි ජනාධිපතිවරයාට කියන්නේ වහා මේ ප්‍රශ්න පිළිබඳව සොයා බලන්න.
University teachers, academic as well as non-academic staff of Ruhuna University also supported the strike. The university activities were at a standstill. Dock workers also withdrew from services on Wednesday in line with the nationwide strike by professionals against the government's tax policy. A heated situation arose within the port due to an incident that occurred on Wednesday morning between the employees who were on strike and the governing authority. Niroshan Gorakhanage, chairman of the All Ceylon General Port Employees Union, said that the SLPA chairman and a group of other officials attempted to deploy port workers for shipping operations. This is the situation which arose between the relevant port workers and the officials. Following the incident, port employees engaged in a motorcycle parade. This is the situation which arose when the Sri Lanka Navy intervened and attempted to put a stop to it. Country's banking sector also went on strike, along with the strike that was launched by the Professionals Trade Union Collective, demanding immediate changes in the government's tax policy. The Joint Postal Services Trade Union Front launched a 24-hour strike with effect from midnight on Tuesday. The strike is in effect despite Sri Lanka's postal service being declared an essential service through a special gazette notification issued by the President. The main post office in Variapul and the sub-post offices were closed on Wednesday to support the strike. All post offices in the Galle town were also closed down. The public was severely inconvenienced as post offices across the country were shut down to support the strike. At the same time, employees attached to the National Water Supply and Drainage Board went on strike and only attended to the purification process and water pumping process. Black flags were raised opposite the Akmiman office of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board to support the strike. The President's Media Division said despite today's ongoing strike, essential services have been functioning properly. The PMD said despite the strike, 265 Bank of Ceylon branches and 272 People's Bank branches were in operation today. The PMD also said 300 petrol and diesel buses have been prepared for the distribution of fuel as usual. According to the President's Media Division, the CEB Shroff and Cashier Union has notified the CEB GM that they would not engage in any union action and have pledged their support to strengthen the country's economy.
Someone said there is a massive strike to take place in recent history. Here's the outcome of this massive strike. If we speak about the banking sector, 190 branches at the National Savings Bank are operational. 325 branches of the People's Bank and 80% of the BOC branches are open today. It is clear whether or not this is the massive strike. to ever take place. There are 82 railway trade unions, but only 2 trade unions went on strike. There are 14,000 workers in the railway service and around 13,000 had reported to work. I would like to ask where the strike went ahead 100% at the hospital. Around 2,000 staff would have gone on strike. Visit the wards at the Colombo National Hospital, Kalubowila Hospital and other hospitals around the country. 98% of the hospital staff are working. The port is operational. Private transport services are operational at 100%. There is no strike at the CPC. At the CEB, there is no strike, but there are protests. The strike action is not a success.
වැඩවර්ධනයක් නැහැ උද්ඝෝෂණ ක්‍රියාමාර්ග තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තත්ත්වයන් ගත්තම මේ වර්ධනයේ සාර්ථකභාවයක් නැහැ.
News First with the people.
In more local news, Nadun Shintaka Vikramaratne, a notorious underworld gang leader and drug trafficker wanted by Sri Lankan authorities for multiple crimes, was extradited to Sri Lanka on Wednesday morning.
Detectives from the Criminal Investigations Department escorted Harakata to Sri Lanka along with his associate Salindu Malshaka, also known as Kudu Salindu. Sri Lanka police said the suspects will be subject to further investigations. Harakata and Kudu Salindu, along with several other criminals, were recently arrested in Madagascar.
The government printer has once again sent a letter to the Treasury seeking funds for the printing process related to the local government election. Government printer Ganga Kalpaniliyanage stated that letter was forwarded to the Operations Department of the Treasury. She stated that a copy of it was sent to the chairman of the Election Commission. The government printer said that no response has been received so far to the previous letter sent to the Ministry of Finance seeking funds for the local government election printing process. The chairman of the Mavanala Pradeshya Sabha was removed from all positions in the local government body by an extraordinary gazette issued by the governor of the Sabaragamua province.
The Gamua province appointed a retired judicial officer as a single-person commission of inquiry to ascertain the offences committed by Rankot Pedige Noel Dasanta Stephen, and a decision was made to remove him from the post of chairman and the post of member as he was found guilty to the offences. Noel Dasanta Stephen was recently arrested on bribery charges.
Sri Lanka Mice Expo 2023 was held in Colombo on Tuesday.
Sri Lanka Mice Expo 2023 consisted of a B2B event, an exhibition, networking sessions, industry forums and familiarization tours. The objective of the expo is to showcase Sri Lanka as a world-class mice centre. Over 100 international mice buyers from the Middle East, Europe, South Asia and Southeast Asia have been selected and enlisted for the event. Minister of Tourism and Land Harin Fernando was the chief guest of the event.
You've been to most of the places and there'll be few more that will be visiting. Do you see Sri Lanka as a place that's starving and people are suffering? That's the first thing that I wanted to ask. As a minister, my challenge when I took over was to make sure that Sri Lanka is a resilient nation and we will come back strong. 75 years of independence Sri Lanka have celebrated this year. We've gone through a 30-year brutal war, but the industry was always a resilient and a very sound industry which never let us down.
The three-day event is organized by Sri Lankan Airlines and the Sri Lanka Convention Bureau.